Today on Things Green.
So this right here is a kind of tractor that my grandfather. So this right here is a kind of tractor that my grandfather had. This is like the Cadillac of them all. Today tractors, nothing like that. So this right here is a good old-fashioned international club tractor.
I paid $200, but I got it from my uncle.
That's today on Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
For nearly 90 years, the Bonide family has provided solutions to lawn and garden pest problems. Whether it's an insecticide, weed killer, fungicide, or plant care product, Bonide products will provide you the best solution to your lawn, garden, or home pest problem.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com. And by the State Farm Youth Advisory Board, supporting school-based, youth-led service learning projects.
All right, Things Green Acres is the place to. There's got to be some kind of copyright infringement on that, huh? But yeah, here, Things Green. You know, it's really amazing. America's farmers are, without a doubt, the most fascinating people because there's an old saying that says that farming is nothing more than legalized gambling. And it's really tough for them to make a living. And the neat thing about it is that America has always been the #1 source for food in the world. And that's because of the technology that they created and they had. Now, these machines and such, they may not have been invented all in the United States, but when they came here, they were built upon and then they were grown and they were made that much better. So it's real exciting. And we're going to be visiting with some folks here today that really have had a pulse on trying to keep that whole thing alive, and it's really exciting. It's a club that restores not only tractors, but a lot of the smaller equipment. So this right here is a kind of tractor that my grandfather had. He was a farmer that was in Fresno, a little town called Kerman, and I remember sitting on his lap, my uncle's lap, and at times they would actually let me drive something like this, you know, the city slicker coming on the farm. So, but what the neat thing about this is that the technology does change, and you can kind of see that if you look over here. This is like the Cadillac of them all. Today tractors, nothing like that. These here, they have power steering nowadays, fancy controls, hydraulics, seats that bounce up and down when you're on site, when you're on the when you're tilling things up and you're working. So it's a really exciting thing. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here. There's a gentleman that has restored an International Harvester, which is one of the brand names. You know, there's Ford tractors and there's a John Deere. So there's a John Deere that I was sitting on. There's a Ford right over there. And let's see, the one that we just saw was a Case tractor. But this one right here is pretty cool because it's an earlier model, and it looks like it's a 1950 kind of tractor over here. And so this right here is a good old-fashioned international club tractor. What makes it a cub tractor?
It's one of the smallest that International made.
Okay, so that's why. So it's cub. In other words, like a little cub as far as a lion. Right. Now, is this something here that that you restored yourself?
Yes.
Okay. What goes into the process of restoring something like this?
Money.
Okay. All right. Let's just say that I was driving down the highways and byways of some remote area, and I see a tractor that has 15 feet of weeds around it, and I go up to the farmer and I say, "How much you want for the tractor?" It's a 1950 Farmall Cub. Made by McCormick, I guess, or International
Harvester.
Yeah, International Harvester. What would I ask him as far as what would something like that cost that would have to be restored?
I paid $200, but I got it from my uncle.
Okay.
It ran.
You got the family discount.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Big time family discount. So. But other people, they're about $1,200 in a rusty stage.
Okay.
That even runs.
Now, when you go through the process of rebuilding a tractor like this, are you taking it down, all the nuts and bolts, and taking them all off and redoing it all?
I took this down as far down as just having this whole piece right here was the only thing not on it.
Oh, okay.
Had it completely sandblasted,
All right.
then painted, put it all back together, a new part, and some new parts.
Yeah, you have to have that because the old parts don't necessarily transfer over very well. Now, what would a tractor like this be used for? Because, you know, I recognize that some of them were used for tilling, some of them were used for row crops or whatever.
This was a row cropper.
This was a row cropper.
Yeah. That was it, and they designed the offset steering compared to the John Deere's that had the center steering, so the operator could sit up here and see down the row.
Ah, sitting on the side.
Right.
Ah, see, that's something I never knew. I knew that it was, I was always wondering why they did that. I figured just, you know, someone, had a crooked eye and decided to put it on there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, now how fast would something like this go?
7.5 miles an hour in
Ooh,
third
that's
gear.
speeding. So 3 gears on this.
3 gears.
Okay, and does it have a reverse?
Yes.
Now, would you pull, what kind of implements would you pull?
Plow, cultivators. I have a plow, a cultivator. It also has a blade that mounts either in the front or in the middle.
Okay.
Seeders, post hole diggers, loaders. There's a lot of implements for this tractor that were made.
Do you think any of these are being used today on modern farms?
You know, back in the Midwest, a lot of the farmers have these, and they have belly mowers on them just to mow their grass.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Other than
nice.
that, they're not really economical compared to the new tractors, you know.
Okay, is this a gas or diesel?
Gas.
This is a gas one. When did they start putting diesel in them? Or was that way before?
Diesel, they had diesel before also. I'm not
Okay.
familiar with when diesel came out.
All right. And do you use regular oil for something like this?
Yes. 30 weight oil.
So it's just real simple, huh? Nice.
And you want to hear it?
Yeah. Oh, you start. Oh, yeah. It has to be working, right? All right, we're gonna start this thing up and see what happens. Oh, that's purring.
Nice.
That is.
Haven't really done anything to the motor.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I could just listen to that.
It's fun.
Now, can you imagine the number of people that were fed because of this thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's just amazing, isn't it?
And this was just a little 40-acre farm tractor, but
still,
yeah,
that is really
it was
cool.
for the small farmer, and they bought all the implements, and one guy could do the whole thing.
That's awesome. I understand that machine over there is yours as well.
Yeah, that's another one.
All right, let's go over there. Let's turn this thing off. We don't want anybody swiping it. The seat here is a little on the rustic side. Okay, so this right here, what year is this and what is it?
1917 Fairbanks Morse.
Okay, 1970. Where in the world do you get something like this? You go back to your uncle's place?
No, actually I got it from another club member.
Oh, really?
He had bought it from somebody else and didn't actually start working on it, so I finally rescued it from his backyard.
Okay, so let's talk about the club because I haven't mentioned that yet. You're a part of which club?
WAPA, Western Antique Power Associates.
Okay, and the Western
West-
Western Antique Power
Associates.
This is a group of people in Southern California,
Correct?
and you guys get together to obviously swap and buy old engines from each other and farm implements, right?
Right.
And what's the whole idea behind the club in the first place?
Bringing these old engines back to life.
Nice.
And let the public see them, and so they can ask us questions. Well, what did this do? Well, it ran a pump or a whatever. Anything you put on a belt, it would run.
Yeah. It amazes me how big the spindles are,
Right.
And the size of the pumps. The size of the belts themselves for whatever they were going to be pumping. So this one right here, what do you think it was originally used for?
Probably running a pump of some type. It's
Could
hard
be
to
a water
tell.
pump.
It could have been. You actually could have ran a line shaft in a small shop also too.
Nice. What kind of response do you get from the kids when they come out here?
The younger kids, not much. Some of the older kids, thank you for coming, and they're interested, asking what it does, and
That's nice.
we
Now-
need to get more of them involved.
Now, do you ever come across whenever you're working on something and it's like we just can't do it, and it doesn't work any longer, or do you just forge forward and do it?
You just keep going as far as you can, if you can't find parts, well, then it might become yard art.
Do a little yard art.
Yep.
Okay, this right here is a little reservoir for water, I would imagine.
Yep.
Okay, keeps it nice and in. And if I remember correctly, I seen one of these. This is where you put your oil, right?
Well, and there's a tube that runs down through here and onto the piston.
Okay,
It keeps the piston oiled.
very good.
Gas tank's underneath.
All right. Well, great. Now, how come when you restored this one, you didn't make it as pretty as that? I mean, that one you took a.
This is basically the way I got it.
Oh, so you just kind of
Yeah,
put a little
lift
elbow
it.
grease in it and.
Fix it back up.
Okay. And it has its own little charm because of that. That's what I like about it. You don't
Right.
have to make it all shiny and bells and whistles.
Right.
Yeah. So something like this, what kind of value would be put on this? If this was for sale today and you had a big old for sale sign, or we're over here at Cal Poly and people have money flowing out.
Oh, I'm roughly saying you could probably get 500.
Oh, is
or
that
more
right?
than that, maybe even a little more.
Wow, that's nice. Well, you know what? I appreciate you showing me this stuff, and I want to go over here and hit all this other equipment. There's a lot to be seen. All right. So far we're finding out that everybody over here is just really awesome. And okay, we have another piece of equipment here, guys. What's going on? I got to tell you right now, I've been hanging out with these guys all day long. They're a pretty rough group, so we got to watch out for them over here. And Leroy, this is your monster, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what would you call this one?
Pardon me?
What do you call this machine?
It's an international.
Oh, this is an international.
Yeah.
Now, being that it's an international, does that mean that it was built originally here in the United States?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What year is this one?
Do what?
What year?
I'd say it's about 1927.
1927. Okay. And
It's
so
a-
this is another one that. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's just these electric engines took, when the farmers and the ranchers and everybody got electricity on the farms, these guys went away because you can buy a little electric engine that big, which is 2 horsepower, what this is. So when they got electricity, they did away with these things. Now, lots of places like way down in Mexico and China and India, out in the world where they don't have electricity, they're still using not this type of engine, but the same idea.
Same
to pump
concept.
water, it's all wood, whatever they need to power
It's
stuff.
the first time anybody's told me that. I never
Yeah.
even thought about that because that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. you
Now,
know?
how difficult was it for you to restore this?
It took about, I'd say maybe 6 months to get it running when I got it.
Oh, that right, huh?
Yeah.
A lot of muscle, elbow grease, and cleaning things
Oh
out.
yeah, mainly it was cleaning it up and getting everything back in shape and getting it ready to run and
Do you ever come across these where at one point you just figure it's not even worth fixing?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they call it yard art then.
Oh, the yard.
They put them in the front yard and put a plant in the hopper. With the
Yeah,
water
sure. I
on.
can see a lot of posies growing
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
that. Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing that with us today. I really
Okay,
appreciate it.
thank you, sir.
Yeah, I have to tell you, this guy's been a character with me all day long. I had a lot of fun with Leroy. We got more machines coming out over here, and the best part is that obviously it's not a very expensive kind of hobby to get into, because if that's only 500 bucks for that other machine, that's pretty good. Okay, what do we have here, guys? What's going on? Hey. All right. They running away? Oh, this guy. Okay, see? This just tells you
My maintenance.
you're doing your maintenance, huh? Got to keep these things running.
You got to do that.
Okay, I'm a little upset with you guys because obviously you had something going on over here and I wasn't invited to the
Well,
party.
I thought I told you to come back at 1 o'clock, Nick,
No.
and you didn't do it.
How convenient was that?
You know? And in this heat,
Yeah, no kidding.
by 1:30, it was melted.
We were frying over here today. It was a lot. Okay,
Well,
this
anyway,
is
this
an
is-
international.
This is not the original purpose of this particular engine. I mean, it was used on the farms. You would put a belt onto here and drive some piece of equipment. It's a 1948 International. It's all completely sealed, so farmers like these because in a dirty environment, you don't get all that dirt into the piston and the valves and everything. So
Sure. Now,
you
Bob,
can work it in a nice dirty environment.
now what's underneath here?
This is the water hopper.
Oh, okay, because
Which is
so the other ones we saw were all open. I haven't seen a cover for them. Is that,
Well, this is unique. Usually these are lost.
Oh,
they're-
is that right?
It just sits there, but this had one, so that kept the dirt out of the water.
okay,
So it just sits there and runs on its own, and the guy goes off and does something else.
all right.
So I took it and I decided, well, I always wanted to make an ice cream maker out of one of these. So I figured out all the pulley mechanisms and that, and
that is too funny.
got me a crank ice cream maker. Took the crank off and just put the pulley on it,
That is too funny.
and it makes homemade ice cream in about 30 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a lot of flashbacks over here when I was a kid because
There you go.
Because my folks came from a farming community.
Sitting there cranking
Oh,
that
let
thing
me
and
tell
telling,
you.
don't stop,
No,
don't
don't
stop.
you dare stop! And then you threw the
You throw
Epsom salt inside there, or no, just
Rock salt.
Rock salt.
Rock
Threw the
salt.
rock salt, and then it make nice and cold.
Throw the rock salt because that causes it to melt and it gets a lower temperature out of the ice.
Yeah.
So it causes the ice cream to melt in that can.
And then you have to keep on feeding the ice in there too.
You
because
just
it's
keep
melting.
throwing more ice in, sprinkle some more salt on it.
This is great.
Yep.
You know what I really like about this? You've really incorporated some of the modern technology or techniques
A
in here.
little modern stuff with it, yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen nothing but the big belts so far.
Right.
This is the first one with the
Yeah,
small
the little
belt.
V belts. Right.
Yeah, little V belts on
Because
there.
you have to reduce the speed down. This is about 300 RPM. You got to get down to about 60 to 65 RPM.
So when you're planning something like this, how do you know how big this pulley has to be?
I found a website. Good old internet. It
Found
said, okay, here's the size of this pulley. Now, if I go to that size, what have I reduced it to? And it tells you. Now, from here, I go to this size to that.
Amazing.
At this RPM, what have I reduced it to? So
Use-
that's how I got to about 60 RPMs.
Using old-fashioned technology for new-fashioned technology for old-fashioned stuff. And how would we start this one?
This is just with the,
Oh, look at that.
turn this over and
Okay. Oh, I like the way that
it just
flung
springs back in there.
This way you're not going to end up breaking an arm or
It's
something.
not sticking out where you walk by and it hits you in the leg. And
Okay. Now, I've noticed this on a couple of other machines, but I haven't pointed it out yet. Why is there a pump?
well, when we're done, we drain the water out of the hopper. So we don't store them with water, it just rusts in there. So we'll just turn the spigot, all the water comes out.
Uh-oh. Well, it looks like the machine that you were working on kind of
I think it ran out of gas.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Let's go take a look at this because
Finally ran out of gas.
This
Well,
was kinda
I think
cute.
she got tired.
she did.
She's protesting. Look, she took one hand off of the pump. Poor girl.
So
Anyway.
I wasn't kidding when I said you guys were a bunch of characters. Look at this. This is a lot of fun. So what do we have here?
Actually, this is the brainchild of my father.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
He kind of got me interested in these old engines.
Uh-huh.
So he had this when he was working on these old things.
Uh-huh.
And then when he got older and he got Alzheimer's, he decided to sell everything. So a gentleman in another club down in Vista bought it.
Okay.
And he had it for all these years. And I finally found the guy and I told him, if you ever want to sell this, I'd like to buy it back.
Bring it back into the family.
Because it's coming back to the family. Well, he finally contacted me
Wow.
about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So I got it back, got it all set up, and now she's pumping water again.
Okay, now
So he called her Sadie.
Okay.
So this is Sadie.
This is Sadie. All right, well, Sadie, hey there. I'm gonna totally embarrass, and you can tell me.
That's
I
okay.
have no business knowing. How much is something like this in the marketplace?
Well, it's like any antique. Don't watch American Pickers. Because all that rusty old stuff is not worth thousands of dollars. Come on. But something like this is as much as somebody would buy it for. So if you offered this setup for $1,000, they'd buy it.
Oh, okay.
If you go up to 15 or so, nah, they'll pass it up.
So in other words, don't get crazy with all the numbers and all that.
It's not a gold mine.
Okay. But this one over here looks like it would be more of a gold mine. Do you know anything about that?
Well, this one, Tom doesn't want to come over here, Nick.
Yeah, he was supposed to, wasn't he?
This is owned by the club. We're an organization called Western Antique Power Associates. There's about 175 members in the organization. So this is owned by the club.
Okay.
And they got this, as I understand it. Now, I could be wrong, but nobody out there listening will know about it anyway. So I'll tell you the story.
Now.
I'll tell you the story.
There we go. We're gonna.
Now, I know it came out of a burned down barn. So the guys rescued it, went through and restored it, repainted it, so it's in full working condition right now, except the governor shaft broke. Okay. But we'll build that. You can't go down to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and buy another one or something. So we'll have to machine it, build a new one, and then we'll get it back and running again.
Well, the only thing I forgot to ask you is, what is it?
It's a larger scale. It's a 15 horsepower. These others are like a horse and a half, 2 horsepower. They do small jobs. This would do a very large job. So you can see the larger pulley on that side would run a bigger flat belt. Hook it up to a bigger corn grinding or sawmill or something
that's
like
what I was
that.
thinking about, sawmill.
Right.
Wow.
A bigger job.
Okay.
Now, since it's a larger engine, it has a radiator. So it has a water pump down here that's running off of another belt, and it's pumping water out of the radiator around the cylinder, and then back up, and it just cascades down here, and the air cools it, goes back down into the reservoir, and pumps it back around through the engine again.
That's amazing.
And obviously, it's set up to where you could pull this thing from job to job.
So they would hook it up to horses, I would imagine, and get it
a horse or a tractor, you know, depending on how much money the farmer had.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, if he spent his money on this, he probably couldn't afford anything else.
Well, Bob, thank you very much for sharing your information with us.
Thank you, Nick.
And good luck with the association.
All right.
We got one more tractor to go, piece of equipment to go see over here. All right, very good. This is so exciting. I've never even come close to this stuff. Of course, we got some really neat bales of hay. If you get yourself a bale like this, you can take and dig holes in here and put some soil and plants and stuff. And all right. Now this is the guy who tackled me when I first came in over here.
I'm Danny.
Hey Danny, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay, well you know what? You're the last portion of our show here today, so you better tell us a really good yarn about what's going on with this machine right here.
Well, this is a horse and a half domestic. It's kind of a little different from the other engines because this has what they call a side shaft. That's shaft that's running down there.
Yeah.
It's a lot more precision with all the gearing and everything for the timing. So these engines were a little bit probably $100 more than most of the other engines in this size.
That was a lot of money back then.
That was a lot of money back then.
And what year was this?
This is about a 1915.
Okay.
And it is still going. It's been running all day on this. I haven't put no gas in it yet, so it's very, very good on the gas consumption.
Okay. And is this one of those hit and misses?
This is a hit and miss, yeah. You hear it fire every so often, the exhaust, and then the rest of the time it's coasting because the weight of the flywheels, the momentum just keeps it going.
Okay. Now this isn't. How come this is picking up every so often right here? Oh, it's coming this way. There you go.
Okay.
See, look, every so often it hits it. How does it know when to hit that?
Well, it's all from the timing, all from here.
Okay.
Which goes back to the flywheels. They have a counterweight. When the engine comes up to speed, the counterweight goes out, activates this little arm right here to activate this arm to make this. This is like a spark plug, but it's inside the cylinder.
Oh, okay.
And when the contact points come apart, when they come apart, they spark, and it's the same thing as like a spark plug, but it's up inside the head.
So like we saw a machine that was over there, and it actually had a pretty gnarly looking spark plug. This doesn't have a spark plug.
It doesn't have a spark plug.
Oh.
It has points inside here. It's called the igniter, and points like in a car. But these ones, when they come apart, when they break contact, is when they spark, and it's at precision time and makes a fire.
Well, I tell you, I want to thank you guys first of all for being so nice to me over here today.
Yeah.
I've had an awful lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah.
And this is so fascinating that I'm really encouraging our young people to get involved, get in contact with the association. You're gonna have a lot of people that will mentor you. America is and has always been #1 in so many different respects. And when it comes to agriculture, especially in the state of California, we are the #1 producers of agriculture in the U.S., hands down. And it all started with little things like this that created those beautiful monsters that we saw over there. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Next time on Things Green. Am I going to need a fishing license today?
Not today. We're going to be taking a look at the Santa Ana River, but we're not actually going to be catching any fish.
This is reclaimed water.
It's treated water that's been treated to certain standards. It can be stormwater flows. So this cart that we're nicknaming Cart Graveyard, because there's a couple carts, they might have come off the cliff here.
We took a detour hike where we climbed down hills, crossed creeks, and battled the brush. That's next time on Things Green.
Things Green is brought to you in part by
Super Thrive, the original vitamin solution. 50 vitamins and nutrients. Vitamins for trees, plants, and lawns. More information at superthrive.com.
Southland Sod Farms, creators of genuine marathon sod. Pre-grown tall fescue grass. More information at sod.com.
Dram Garden Products, makers of watering tools since the 1940s. Committed to saving water with handheld tools, hoses, and water wands. More information at dram.com.
For nearly 90 years, the Bonide family has provided solutions to lawn and garden pest problems. Whether it's an insecticide, weed killer, fungicide, or plant care product, Bonide products will provide you the best solution to your lawn, garden, or home pest problem.
With continued support from Cole Tomato Cages, planting, growing, and harvesting. More information at colemetals.com. And by the State Farm Youth Advisory Board, supporting school-based, youth-led service learning projects.